Hello. So I had done a video, and the video was about the series that I just read by Tessa Bailey. And I realized that you could barely hear me, so I decided that I was gonna redo that video and then put one up. Dang, YouTube is hard, like you have to really planned out like what you're going to talk about and what you're going to write about or whatever the case may be, and be actually consistent. And that is something that sometimes I struggle with, being consistent with something, whether it's putting up videos or being on a healthy regimen. Things like that could be very, very hard. So anyway, I want to talk to you about the book that the series that I just read. And it's by Tessa Bailey, and it's called Hot and Hammered. I believe that's what it's called. And it was such a good series. This author was recommended to me by my my son's preschool teacher. Her and I have a very similar taste in books. I like the rom-coms, happy endings, not too dramatic or too traumatic, because it makes me feel really sad. I don't know. I know books should do that, but I feel like you should enjoy it. And I feel like I don't enjoy books that make me feel really sad. So anyway, I read this series, and it's called that Hot and Hammered. Is that what I said? By Tessa Bailey. And Hot and Hammered. I want to Google it, make sure that that's what it was. Yeah, it was Hot and Hammered. So in this one, it's 3 books. So I got my copy of this on Hoopla. By the way, I'm just priming my face. I'm gonna go ahead and do my face real quick, and that way I can watch church. So it's called the 3 books, and it will be, the first one was Fix Her Up. The second was the Love Her and Lose Her. And then 3 is Tools of Engagement. So they would be good standalone books. However, they are way better if you read them in order. So if you read Fix Her Up, then Love Her and Lose Her, or Love Her or Lose Her, and then Tools of Engagement. Because the Tools of Engagement does have what happened to the previous characters. So I'm gonna go ahead and tell you that there's gonna be spoilers, because I want this more to be like, oh, I read the book, what did you think, what did I think, or whatever. Or if you can get something that you got, I don't know, that you enjoyed out of it. But talking about books is just fun, and sometimes I don't get to do it, because once I'm like done with a book, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna read the next one, and I don't even have time to like let it sit. I don't know, I get too excited about reading the book. So the first one was Fix Her Up. So in Fix Her Up, I really enjoyed it because the girl, her name was Georgie. She was just the youngest of like all of her siblings. And by all of her siblings, it was 2. It's Steven and Bethany. And in this one, so another thing is these are spicy. Because they contain a lot of spiciness. So the scenes are definitely rated R. And this one, Georgie has her degree in business, and I like how her dynamic of her family is, because it's quite normal, to be honest. It's like no major trauma, but you still have some things that you feel you know, feel validate from or feel validated from. I don't want to say normal because I don't think there's such thing as normalness, but at least there's not like hardcore trauma, because actually the guy that she ends up like liking or falling for, his name is Travis. He he was basically in the middle of an ugly divorce, and that hurt him. Like, not only did he not have like the best relationship with his mom, but he didn't also have the best relationship with his dad. And I mean, I guess in a good way, it pushed him because it made him be a professional baseball player. But once he didn't have that identity, he was quite lost. So that was a little sad, because I feel like in this stage and age, you know, like there's a lot of that happening, and sometimes when we're going through difficult times, it's really hard to think with a clear mind. So I thought it was sad because he does talk about how his mom would be dropping him off and his dad would just be at the bar, and then she'll be like, it's your turn now, you gotta take care of him, wait, don't you think this is exhausting? And it's just sad, you know, to feel at that age when you don't understand what's going on, perhaps feeling unwanted. That's what I got. So he became like this baseball player, and unfortunately he got injured. So that's where I'm talking about he didn't have that identity anymore. And he struggled with that because now he felt, you know, he's not famous anymore. He goes back to like where he's from, but yet he doesn't have any family to go through. Like, he never even talked in the book. I don't recall reading anything about his mom. He talked about meeting his dad one time to like at the bar, and his dad like still talking quite down to him. He not only was a butt to him, but he was also still bitter about what happened between him and his wife, and their ugly divorce. So that was like super sad. The cute stuff though was like Georgie not letting her insecurities get the best of her. That's something that I enjoyed about her. I loved her character development throughout the book. I connected with her because at that time where I was crazy about my husband, I was also 23. And in this book, she's that age as well. So I do feel like I connected, and I could go back to how I used to think at that age, and I was very proud of her, because she just continued to break barriers, not only like in the outside world, but in her inside world. And I think that's like the most important part, is just what you tell yourself, right? So she had a great support system, which is something that I do love. I love having a good support system, having good friends that are just pushing you and helping, not pushing you like in a bad way, like do it, but like peer pressure, but just like believing in you. I feel like that was like something that I also love. Like, I love that friendship aspect of this whole series, because throughout the whole thing, these girls are just empowering and loving each other. And I feel like a lot of the times we have like this bad perception that other women don't want the best for you. And I feel like because I live it in real life, like good friendships wanting the best of me, it was so good for me to read it, and like again, another thing that I can connect with. So that was awesome. Anyway, the way they picture Travis is so okay. I know this is bad, but one of the guys that I follow on Instagram, he's like he chops off wood. Who does that? I don't know, but he does. He's like in a new Wayfair commercial. He's just like definitely the picture of like probably a rom-com book. I don't know. You want like not just hunks. It's not just lusty, you know. I'm not like that gross. It's just like, I don't know. Sometimes people have like a nice face, like Pedro Pascal. I don't know, like that like sense of humor kind of thing. I don't know. just that cute, not like super clean, but like not dirty. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, that was such a good movie. I mean, book. So I do love that portrayal of Fixer. So then, I don't know if you want me to go to the next one, but they end up together. It's so good. It's like that because he's the best friend of her brother, of her oldest brother. It's so difficult for her to not be seen as the little like girl that just kind of had a crush on him in high school and stuff like that. So that was like really interesting how that actually developed. That was cute. The second one was Love Her or Lose Her. This is the first book that I read on a married couple. And in this one, they are also young. So she's 27, and actually they don't talk about his age, but her husband, her and her husband are middle school sweethearts. I love that. Like, I just love that they stick together, they stay together, they grow together, and they're able to go through the adversities together. And I love that Tessa puts such an emphasis on therapy. And I loved how she implemented the 5 love languages in this book. It was so good. And also super duper steamy, like sauna, hot yoga, steamy, spicy. So if you don't like it spicy, this is not the book for you. However, it was phenomenal. I loved how she implemented that. I love hearing what her husband was also feeling and how he thought that he was providing, and how his family dynamic works so well because his parents, I think he's the son of immigrant parents. I gotta remember. I thought he was Puerto Rican, but there might be like another mix in there. I know they're both biracial. They do say what I want to say she's something Spaniard and Puerto Rican or something like that. And then I know that he's also biracial. And I love that aspect of them too. I love how he thought he was showing her love because he was providing. But I also loved how it came to his realization that there was other ways to show love. And then I love that she took ownership of what she was doing and what she stopped doing in their relationship that also kind of led them to, they actually do separate in the book. So they separate for a little bit, but in her way to be like, okay, if they're going to give anything a try, it has to be through therapy, and we're going to follow everything the guy says. And it's just so funny how like the guy that they choose to be this like the therapist is like this like super hippie dude. I don't know. It just worked. It was just such a fun, nice read, and you're just like, no. And then my sister was there when I was reading this part where he has this big secret. I don't know if I should say it or not, but he has such a big secret. You're just like, tell her already, this might fix everything. And he just doesn't because he's so insecure on what he should do. I don't know. It just, I feel like this book was so raw in what sometimes we feel, you know? And I love how, you know, this is their first marriage. Sometimes we mess up. We don't know what we're doing. And I just love how they seek help for it. And I also love how he had friends that were such a good influence on him. I do feel like both women and men, we do need people on our side to cheer us on. Not just to be like, tell us what we want to hear, but really tell us like, dude, like, come on, like, you gotta understand this is a little wrong, right? Or why don't you do this? Like, and people that are on the same, I don't know, I don't want to say frequency, like they don't have to be on the same walk of life, but just saying like that they're good friends, you know? when they say that, like, flock of a feathers fly together, or even in the Bible, it talks about, like, you have to be so careful with who you hang out with because you become who you hang out with. So I do feel like him having great friends was, it contributed to a big part of the marriage success. Moral of the story, be careful who you hang out with and make sure that they are on your team. Not just on your team, but like on the team of seeing you and your significant other happy. I think that was so good. So love her, lose her. Phenomenal. 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 I loved it. Her name was Rosie. His name was Dominic. And the way they portrayed Dominic was just like, oh, he also had like that survivor's guilt. Because he was he used to be in the service. And he served in one of the, I believe he was drafted. Super good ending. Highly, highly, highly recommend. Oh. And then the other one that I read, that was the third one. So the third one was Tools of Engagement. So in this one, they talk about Georgie's older sister, who I feel like she totally has like that elder syndrome, you know, like you feel like you gotta do like, I don't know. She wasn't the oldest though. Her brother was the oldest. But she was just like kind of a perfectionist, and she made things look easy. So people thought that she was just like, oh, okay, like this is gonna like be perfect for her. She could do it. And I love how she meets this guy who is actually way younger than her. I feel like the reason they worked out, he's 7 years older. I feel like a lot of the times it's not the age. I think a lot of the times it's the circumstances and really the personality of somebody. And why some relationships work with a certain age gap and some don't. And in this sense, the guy that she fell for was like a Texas guy. And don't get me started on country, because I love country. I love country before Beyonce started talking this Disney in Texas, okay? So this one, she falls for this guy who is a Texas guy, and he's way younger than her. He's 7 years younger. So she's 30, I want to say 31 or 32. I want to say 31. 31? And this girl, his name is Wes Daniels. Like, that even just sounds good. Like, that just sounds like a sexy name. Hey, Wes, where you going, son? I don't know. And this guy is actually, he was part of the foster system, him and his sister. His sister, unfortunately, found other ways to cope, you know, probably having to deal with, like, abandonment issues. And one of her ways, sadly, was drugs. So she did have Wes' sister had a 5-year-old daughter, and she ended up calling Wes and being like, can you please come and take care of my daughter? I need to like just get away because I'm not thinking clearly. And Wes is like, okay. So he goes to this town from Texas to, I can't remember where it was, but this far. And he starts taking care of his niece. He gets a construction job which ends up being where Bethany stages, and her brother does the flipping of houses. And they're like a super big company. So I'm not gonna like super duper duper into details just so I don't like spoil the whole book. But it is definitely that type of book where she is fighting it to like not like this guy, and he is kind of loving the chase. Like, this girl doesn't like me and I feel nothing but attraction to it. So there comes some vulnerability where she talks about like how she feels about not only about their age gap, but also because she wants to do flipping instead of just staging. because she she wants to get out of her comfort zone. So I love that about this. I love how this book ties into Fix Her Up, which is with Travis and Georgie. And then she decides to actually do the flip. Wes ends up being like, well, I could work for you instead of your brother. And she's like, fine. And they end up working together. I love how Wes also becomes vulnerable into knowing like, okay, my upbringing could have a lot to do with me having a little trouble recognizing my feelings, but like he was also brave to get past it. So that's something that I really liked as well. It's just such a sweet story with also the five-year-old girl feeling very loved by her uncle and by Bethany. And I love how in this book you know how they say it takes a village to raise a child. In this book, they literally show you that village, and I just love that for them. I definitely feel like sometimes it could be a little hard to be that village, and he even felt that reluctancy at the beginning of the book. Sometimes it does make you feel inadequate, and it makes you feel like, why do I need help? Why should I need help? I could do it by myself. But in this book, I like how Wes is able to move past that. He's able to actually accept the help of the village, having these ladies willing to help him as a single guy in his 20s, from one day to another, taking care of another life. You know, it could be very scary. And these ladies in this community just become part of the village. They babysit, they rotate in babysitting the little girl, and they make them dinner, and it's just so amazing how the community just pulls through. And I love that. I hope that becomes more of a norm, where we're able to ask a little bit, because sometimes I have so much, I also get that, like, I don't need help, and I'm like, oh wait, I do. So that was so sweet. In this book, it's where at the end, Tessa does have the ending, which is Bethany and Wes Daniels. They are together, and I don't want to ruin the whole thing, but they end up being in a like HGTV kind of show, like, you know, kind of like Beloved or Listed or something like that, but, you know, a made up version of it in this book. And I love that too. And I love the ending. And I love that they talk about Georgie, and they talked about Rosie, and how they worked out, and how their relationships were still as fiery as, you know, the book that I read at the beginning. And it also talks about them and their little ones, and it's just so cute. I love that. So such a good book. All three books are super steamy. I wonder a lot about Stephen and his wife, which is Bethany and Georgie's brother. He's the oldest brother, and he sounds like very attractive too, because he's very successful, and I know he has like his own thing, his own insecurities, because his wife been messing around with him so much. What's his wife's name? I want to say, oh my god, is it Kristen? I can't remember, but I would be interested in seeing a little bit more about that. I hope I don't know, I hope that they can work that in there. They're one of those couples that they're just so intriguing. They kind of have quite a bit of drama going on. I want to know why. Or I want to know, like, does he love that, or like, does she love it, or like, I don't know, how did they be together? I don't know. What is that? Oh, like a fleck of something. Oh, it's glitter. So that was very interesting. That was super interesting. So those are the books that I've read. I'm currently reading no, I'm not currently reading anything. I just finished the Viscountess, or the, you know, that Bridgerton with Kate and Anthony. Is this too blah? I think that's too blah. I don't love it. Maybe I'll mix it up with something else. So those are like the books that I've read. I hope, oh my gosh, I guess I like this one. Look, there's like nothing left. I was design text. So anyway, that was the books that I've been reading, and I really enjoyed. And I hope that maybe you try it on and then, or read them. I don't know what I'm saying. If you read them and you have any more input, or just to have a talk about what you think about the book, I would love to hear your input. But definitely I'm going to be sticking to reading some more of that Tessa Bailey chick. Tessa, you're pretty awesome. I have loved your books. I've also read that other one, Hook, Line, and Sinker. And It Happened One Summer. I want to think that was the other one. It Happened One Summer. It Happened One Summer. Yeah, It Happened One Summer. With Brennan. Oh my gosh. I'm going to do another one on that one. Because Brennan be, I don't know, all sorts of masculine. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you're enjoying your beautiful day. It is like 70 degrees over here in Chicago. I'm gonna go out there and enjoy it, and I hope you do too. Thank you.